Hey, all right, looks like everything's working. Can y'all hear me?
Y'all hear me?
Turn that down. Sounds like there's volume. All right. I wasn't sure how this was going to work after watching Cole fuck up the beginning of his show. Oh, demonetized already. Doggone. Oh, man. So, Tuesday Late Live, number one. And I was trying to decide whether I was just going to stick to doing the Instagram. And then I kind of decided I was going to do YouTube my way and do a bunch of shorts and a weekly live. And I was looking around for some spots, and um, it's either daytime Tuesday or after Cole on Tuesday. So after Cole on Tuesday, Tri-State, EDC, um, will work. Will work. Um, how's everybody doing? I'm trying to take a look and figure out. I've got the TV on back here. Can't see anything being. I can see a little bit of what's going on over here. This might be my best bet right here. Beaver Baron was first. He got the gold medal for being the first in the chat in the very first live. So that's thank you. I appreciate it. BNA, Mind of Milton, Five Door, Dr. Drew. Who else is in here? Pretty fly for a fly guy, pretty fly for a knife guy. Cheeto, you said you weren't going to be here. Oh, sneaky son of a gun. Broke ass knives. Joseph, Lancelot Leather. Hey, Joe. Who else we got in here? Mr. Ed Harrison, the man, the myth, the legend. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Um, so, I figured the best place to start would be at the beginning. Um, I've had a lot of knives in my possession over the years. The first one I got, I actually recently just purchased a replacement, a replica of my very first knife. I've told a few people this story, but um, I was at the Blaine County Fair up in Chinook, Montana, where my folks are from, and I was about 10 years old, and I was at the county fair there, and we were playing the coin pusher. You drop the quarters in, and it pushes everything off, and it's got all the little stuff that falls off other than just quarters. And little Barlow knife fell off, little yellow Barlow knife. And I don't know if it was a good one or a bad one, but I know it was a Barlow knife, and I knew I probably wasn't supposed to have it, but I stuck it in my pocket. About 2 weeks later, on our trip that we were taking back from Montana, KOA after KOA after KOA, which is how we traveled most of the time, um, Pop saw it. And I thought for sure they were going to take it away, but he just was like, okay, yeah, you got to be responsible. You got to be careful. He gave me a little pep talk. And um, I've been watching my grandfather sit at the kitchen table and sharpen his knife until the steel was all gone ever since I was tall enough to see up onto the table. And but I had knives over the years. I was in Boy Scouts and had a couple pocket knives, and um, but nothing, serious. I always had, the right tool for the job, fishing knives, things like that. And that's actually what brought me around to, starting to get involved with the community here about 2.5 years ago. Was I was looking for a knife that I could keep on my belt or in my pocket when I was in the kayak fishing, something that I had easy access to. And the knife that I was carrying around at the time was a little $10 no name knockoff pocket knife, sharp as heck, but that was what I had. So the neighbors next door, we switch off watching each other's dogs, and um, they had gotten me a $100 gift card for one of the weekends they were out of town, and we were keeping track of the dogs for them. And I decided I'm going to get me a knife, and I got online and went down my first rabbit hole, and did a little bit of research and everything, but found something big, fit my hand, had a nice lock on it, something I could stick in my pocket, and I wanted to spend about $50, so I ended up with this. So this is an Artisan Hoverwing D2, heavy son of a gun. But that was the knife I got. And then I did what I still do to this day. After I ordered the knife, I got online and started doing some research on the knife. And when I started doing research on knives, a few names popped up, but the one that popped up first for me was Big Red EDC. And at the time, it was like the perfect storm. Big Red, he was doing this General's Club box from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and for a couple $100 a month, they'd send you a box full of knives. And I mean, there was some cheap stuff in there, there was some medium stuff in there, and if you did the General's box, there was a high-end knife in there usually. And for the first 6 or 7 months, I mean, that's how I pretty much started my collection, was all of the different things that came in those General's Club boxes. And then they discontinued it, and I started buying what I learned that I liked. And that was kind of cool because, during that learning curve when you're first starting out, I mean, you can dump a lot of money into the knife stores just trying to figure out what you like. If you're lucky, if you're fortunate, you got a local knife store that you can go check out. We got one up here on North Lamar in Austin. It's the only real knife store in town. And every time I go to a new town, I try and find a knife store and go check them out and support them. And also, it gives you a chance to, grab a hold of the knives and check them out. And some of the places will even let you film if you want to do a little, on-site video and that kind of thing. My guy doesn't really care for that. He doesn't want anybody really filming around what's going on up in his store. So it is what it is. Got to respect it. So I started being influenced a little bit. I have to admit, I definitely got a little influence from Zach with the Benchmates, and I've got probably my favorite that I carry probably the most in the wintertime is my full size Adamas. I would say that would probably be my number one carry for the winter months. The rest of the year, I switch out quite a bit, but I have found that when I'm out in the shop, for probably the first year and a half, I carried a Kubi Vagrant in Thai that I got from Love Them Knives. And he had already made the knife famous and got it all naked online and on his show, and took it apart and put it back together and the whole 9 yards. So it was a famous knife before I even got it. And but that knife, I don't know what it was. It was the first one that I just had. I loved the action. It was the right size, even though it was a little smaller than I normally like. But when I was out in the shop and doing this and that was my knife, my Kubi Vagrant. But I have started collecting quite a bit of different things, and if you stick around, in the future, I'll kind of share quite a few of those different rabbit holes. I've stopped a few of them. Um, I started down a couple and then decided against them. Some of the high end slip joints and 200, 300, $400 slip joints. Just a bit out there for me right now. Um, One of my favorite things to do recently is go to the thrift stores and the pawn shops, and I've got a little route that I do. And once a week, I also try to make it over to the Texas Surplus store. And for us here in Texas, Austin being the capital, the state has a surplus store, and I know you see a lot of stuff online like eBay and stuff like that. I'm not sure every state has it, but we have the surplus store where you can go buy all the leftover stuff. You can even go buy an old state trooper car if you want one. But desks and the kind of stuff that you'd expect to find at a surplus store. But they've got a big old case of knives, and then they've got 5 or 6 big 6 foot by 4 foot piles of knives, and that's where all the garbage knives end up. All your no-name knives, all the little chode knives, all just garbage. That's the stuff you see being sold online for like by the pound. But in the cases, they've got a bunch of knives that were taken by TSA or lost or confiscated or however they ended up there. But TSA ended up with them, and they end up coming into the store. And what the guys there do is they knock them down. They do their research. They're pretty good. Same guys have been there as long as I've been going in there. And they do their research. They're pretty good at doing their research. They figure out the market value, and then they drop it by 50%. And in some cases, that's not a big deal. But when you start seeing what they're charging at some of the pawn shops and thrift stores for, the good pocket knives, those guys do their research and they maybe only knock off 25% or 20%. They're trying to make their money. So I do still find, some things from time to time at the pawn shops, but not nearly as much as I find I call it the airport gift shop. So if you hear me say the airport gift shop, that's what I'm talking about, because I figure, each of those knives that I pick up from that place has a story, and I just don't know what the heck it is and probably never will. But one of the recent ones I picked up from over there, got this one for $20. Little case, peach bomb. I like the single blade traditionals. I do have some that are multi-blade, but for the most part, I'm a Barlow guy. I just had that influence from when I was a little kid, and I like the figure out how to do this one of these days. But that was $20 plus tax. But I picked up some cool stuff in there. I was in there a couple months ago, and I don't know how they got a hold of this knife. I don't know if it fell out of somebody's pocket or what. But they had a knife with the the mammoth, and on the handle it was a traditional, and they had it marked at $1,000. And by the time I went to check if I had enough money on my credit card to buy it, it was gone. But that's probably the most high end knife I've ever seen in there. Other than that, I mean, there's usually nothing in there over $200. But that's one of my favorite places to go. Pick up stuff. And you can find all kinds of stuff in there. Traditionals. You find some really tore up stuff in there. I did 3 last year. I did 3 Benchmades that I picked up from there for next to nothing, and then I bought custom clips for them. I put new scales on them. I did all kinds of different stuff, and I ended up making like $150. I sold them all 3 as a package, and I was pretty happy with that. It's kind of one of those like little got to handle some knives, got to mod some knives, got to take some Benchmades apart, which is a lot more chore than I thought it was going to be. But yep, a little $20 tool you can buy online that help you keep that pivot from all coming unraveled. Trying to re-ravel it is a pain in the hind end, man. I'll tell you what. But got her done. But that's kind of one of the things that I've been doing lately. The budget's been a little tight since July when I had my heart surgery. But we're getting back on our feet and we're getting things rolling again, back in school, and hopefully sometime next summer or about that time, I'll be able to pick up some work related to my field of study and be able to start buying more knives and adding to the collection a little bit more, like I was before. Got out of control for a little while, but it's all right. It's all good. Those people over there at those uh, knife stores. I mean, there was 4 or 5 of them that I was getting to be known by name. So you know that you got a problem when they start checking on you and you don't come by for a week or two. Like, hey, you all right, man? Yeah, I'm good. Sweet for that. What else we got going on? Um, hmm. Oh, we got to do some. I've got a couple of things to unbox. Um, I've been kind of holding out, which is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Having stuff sitting around the house here, looking at these boxes for the last 4 or 5 days, going, I'd like to chicken tail Jim Jr. But I did it. I held out. Um, if you stick around, some of the things that you might see here, um, I do Higo, no Kami. Like I said, single blade knives are my jam. I got a nice little beginning to a collection of these guys. I just sent one of these to Big Red. It's kind of funny. At Knife Country USA, um, they had this knife here, a little Higo, $14.99. But the funny thing is it was on sale, and they had a typo in their ad or in their store. It said it was marked down to $15.99 from $299. So man, that was originally a really, really expensive knife for a little chode. But we've got stuff like I got that for Christmas from the next door neighbors. That's really cool. I'd like to get more stuff like this. There's a lady on IG named Carly Rabbit that I've been checking out her stuff. She's got some pretty cool stuff that she's doing with Obsidian, and hoping to get on her books maybe in the next couple months. That's a cool little piece. Fancy box cutter. Might find yourself one of these. Got that for my Secret Santa this year. Added the little lanyard. And that blaze it's not going anywhere. I mean, that thing's in there. You can just drop that in your pocket. It's not coming out. So you got to put pressure on it from the inside. In here. You got to push in, which makes this right here push out, and that's kind of what holds it. And then there's clicks up on top to hold the razor blade in. But until I was kind of surprised. I was going to have Joe make me a slip for it. I still might. But I'm kind of getting it all buggered up now. And I did finally get that knife for my kayaking. Little fixie. But that's been my go-to. I've got a couple of these newer models. The CRKT bird and trout. But this one seems to be the one that I grab when I go out lately. I got a bunch of Barlows. Searching for them and using them. Just everything that I keep in my collection, I use for the most part. I haven't really got to that point where I'm collecting stuff that It's super expensive. I did win year before last in knife rights drawing. I won a $500. What was it called? I'm trying to remember what the heck it was, but it was it was about a $500 pocket knife. Um, Carco's got it. I ended up doing a swap with Carco. I forget what the heck the name of that knife was. But that's when I realized that I just wasn't the right guy to be carrying a $500 knife in my pocket. It made me too nervous. And so for me, right now, at least, 300 is about where I'm at on the high end. And I've got six or nine that are in that area, and I carry them all the time and use most of them most of the time. Lately, I've been carrying a couple of knives from some of our friends in the community. Um, New breed EDC. I've been carrying the heck out of that Clydesdale. That thing is crazy. And then when I go on my dog walks every night, got to stick my Phoenix in my pocket because I don't know about you, but that's a dog walking knife right there. And the lights from my sticker art back here. Originally, that was a piece of art I got for Christmas, and it was hanging in my game room, my pool room, at the last house. We had the big house, and it's got neon and lights and all kinds of stuff on it. But it had like all of the greatest rock and roll heavy metal bands from the last 30, 40 years. It was Zeppelin and Priest and Metallica and everybody. And it was all up on the, kind of a black and white thing. And it ended up stuck behind the bed. And I was trying to figure out a place where I could start putting some stickers. And it says metal right across the bottom here. You can't see it because of the lights, but right over those lights, it says metal. So I thought, hey, that's a sign. We're gonna put stickers on it. So I got stickers there. I got stickers on my computer, um, but I'm running out of space. So I have started. I was listening to Keith the Knife Freak earlier, and he was talking about um, running out of space and not wanting to go over each other. And I'm kind of the other way. I'm kind of like, okay, who's getting knocked out next? Blue Creek Knives, are you planning on coming back? Because I'm getting ready to cover up some of your stickers, son. Because there was like four Blue Creek Knives, mostly because he had some really cool stickers. Um, and to this day, my favorite is the pond diving in Indiana. And if you've ever been to Indiana and seen some of the ponds around there, it's kind of funny, but I don't know how those people in Indiana always end up driving their dang cars into those ponds and having to get scuba out. But that's what Brian does now. He's training all those guys to be able to go dive those ponds. Um, Not a lot of big lakes in Indiana until you get up on the Michigan, Illinois area up there by Lake Michigan. But there's a river, a couple of rivers, yeah, but not a lot of lakes. So it is kind of funny. Um, what else? Fixed blades. Big fan of fixed blades. It's a boot knife, an ATS 34. CFK knife. It's a company out of the UK, and then they have a place down in Florida, and I think they send the steel parts to Florida, and then the guy in Florida puts it together so they can say that it was assembled in the United States of America. Like I said, I got a couple of these just because they're different steels. And one of the other things that I have going on, and we may do a live or two from out there, but I've got a shed out back, my sharpening shed, and I got a Tormek T8 out there, and work sharp setup out there, and I whittle out there. So make a big old mess most of the time. But I was buying a lot of different kinds of steels so that I could learn how to sharpen different kinds of steels. And I think I've got another one of these BG10, and I know one of them ended up with. I gave one away last year, and it ended up with Matisfaction. Um, one of my recent hobbies, another one of my hobbies, other than knife collecting, over the pandemic, I picked up, started doing some whittling and carving. Working on this one right here for Marty. It's not what you think, or maybe it is. I don't know. All right, let's open a box up. Let's see, what are we going to use to open with? This is a, check this out. This is a toy knife from Japan. And best I can figure out, it's from sometime back in the 60s. But the crazy thing is, you can kind of see it. The handle is made out of like die cast metal, like they used to make cars out of, little Hot Wheels cars back in the day. You can see it's kind of coming apart a little bit, but that freaking blade ain't no toy. In Japan, right there on the side. But that'll be our unboxing knife for our first box, and then our first box should be our unboxing knife for our second box. So I kind of already know what's in this box. This box here is from my Secret Santa, but those Secret Santa duties have already been fulfilled, and I'm quite grateful. It was a very, very good Secret Santa year, indeed. There we go. Keith knows how to tape a box. All right. Holy cow, there's snacks. What do you guys got for snacks? Huh? I'm not sponsored. M&M's, Milky Way, Christmas candy, peppermint patties. Holy cow! Twix, almond joy. Wow. So what do we have? Well, oh man. So a couple of the guys have some really fancy box openers that I saw that Keith had created for them, and I asked for something as obnoxious as he could come up with. Oh, made in the USA. Check that out, man. Oh Lord, Keith is killing it. Is that cool or what? You know, one of the guys has one that's Lefty, I think, has one that's made out of the leaf spring from a Ford F-150. There we go. That is the coolest. Thank you, Mr. Keith. That is freaking absolutely 100% the kind of obnoxious I was looking for. And you gave me a good idea for, without even knowing, but I've been just laying my carving knives down on my workbench out in the shop, and I really only have 4 or 5 knives and gouges and stuff that I work with generally when I'm whittling. But I just generally have laid them down, and then when I remembered what Keith was using for a holder for these box openers, it just dawned on me. It's like, okay, I've got a drill. I can use 4x4 and drill a couple holes in it, and it gives me a place to keep my blades. It keeps them from getting knocked around. And, but yeah, very cool, very cool. All right. What else we got here? This one actually might be of interest to some of y'all. This is the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Yeah, I'm already thinking ahead. And some of you might have seen this this go down. What the heck? More candy. This is from OCD for EDC. And I picked this up off of his little store. Yep, it's one of those. That's a big one. All right, ready for the reveal? There you go, Maddie. Old Justin was going to town on the new engraver, so I figured that would be just perfect for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I think we're at like 52. Let's go. It is a liner lock. That's a big guy, I'll tell you what. And another cool little piece of you can see that right there up by the Spidey 016V. This is a Spyderco Club knife. They make 200 of every knife for the Spyderco Club. And the number that Justin and Molly have over there at OCD for EDC is number 16. All right, so that's not a dropper. It's going to need to be broke in, but I thought that was pretty cool. All right. See you later, Cheeto. What kind of shenanigans is Maddie starting in here? Devil's lettuce and swing. Cool. So that's going to go back in the box and we'll put that away. Oh, the sticker. Sticker's all mangled, man. You have to flatten it back out. All right. Be careful opening this one. Let's see. What's the best way to do this? I'm actually not going to use a knife on this, I don't think. That's exactly what I was trying not to do. All right. I've got an idea. That'll do it. I saw that I started cutting paper and I didn't want to cut paper because I think this is some seriously important paper. It comes with another note from Keith, the Ulu freak. Did you guys see those Ulus that he's putting out? Did you get the first one, Maddie? If by bongs you mean buttholes, then yes, sir. Hmm? Well, that's actually perfect. I cut the corner of it off. It's official. Look at that. Even came with a custom thumb stud. That is too cool. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's funny. Very, very cool. And there it is. That's just cool. That's all I can say. I do have another part of my collection that I didn't show, but if you watched my part two on my Instagram of my gratitude videos that I was putting out, um, I was talking about being lucky. And another part of my collection is the knives that I get from each of the different um, channels in their giveaways and things like that. And some of them are a lot harder to get. Right now, the Grail is winning a medal complex. But usually after I win one, then I'll DSKFS after that. And but I've got knives that, I've Lefty is the Main Street, and KC is the Concept. I don't remember what the heck is the name of that knife. It's a cool knife. But I got Tri-State is the Mormalia. Quite a few different knives. The reason I bring that up is because I want another one. Thrifty Kniffy did a little giveaway, and Andy got on there. Andy Armstrong was on on with Thrifty Kniffy last weekend, and I got Andy's autograph. Haven't opened a box yet that didn't have candy in it, doggone it. That's pretty cool. But this was actually on the list of knives that I wanted to get last year. And I got the Lusahatchee, and I really dig on that knife. But I was wanting that Barlow, and they sold out when I had the money, and now they got them back in stock. But I can knock it off the list. Maddie, nobody said it was a mushroom. All I said was I was carving it for you. Not done yet. I still have to put spikes on it. Ocoee River Kayak. Cool, Stevie. Yes, he will. All right. What else we got? Anything else? Oh, just got one more. Look at that. Woo! That bad boy is sharp. Put that back over here so nobody gets hurt. Be up. Man, that's way cooler in person. Wish you could be here. Very cool. And I got some slaps too, so we'll see when those get here. But those are gonna go right back there. What else we got going on, guys? Yeah, I think I'm going to get one of those. I'll see if he has any of the Ulus left, but I actually wanted to get on the list next year for one of Keith's fixed blades, but I've got to get my tipper fixed first from Mr. Scott. And I had a little hiccup in November and depleted about half of my savings that I had put away for my tipper. But we're back on track now, so I hit him up a couple days ago and let him know probably be about March for me, so getting me on the books. But every time I see Stevie and Forrest flipping, makes me a little jelly. Where's the Woo sticker? The Woo sticker is on my the Yeti that I carry every day when I go out and about. Um, and it's got a big old Texas flag on one side, and it's got presidents are temporary and Wu Tang is forever on the other side. And now I got to figure out some more stickers to put on that thing. But I've been carrying that around quite a bit. In fact, I carried it this morning to the bowling alley for the first time in over 6 months to bowl on the league. And I didn't do half bad. We ended up winning all 8 points, and I threw a 551. First game was fabulous. After that, I kind of fell off a little bit, but after a 6 month break, I mean, that's going to be probably the norm for the first couple of weeks until I get back in my groove. But it was good to be back in there, and pretty much the only physical activity I've been getting is over at the Planet Fitness and hitting the rowing machine and then walking back and forth. It's about 0.9 miles to from my house to the Planet Fitness. So I walk there and back and then hit the rowing machine for a little while and found a pretty cool find over at one of the thrift stores last week. I found a stationary bike. It's not one of them fancy Pelotons, but it was a Schwinn, and it was in excellent condition. It was like $20, and I looked it up online. It was like a $500 exercise bicycle. So I grabbed that bad boy up. So if I don't feel like walking down, like when it gets cold next week, I can just hit the bike out in the shop out there and get in my exercise that way. You're gonna do. The dogs aren't gonna be too happy about it, but Dr. Drew, dude, good night, sir. All right, so I'm actually pretty impressed with how well this all went down so far. I'll have to go back and see what kind of shenanigans Manufacturing was creating earlier. Highest bowling score ever to date was a 56. Wow. I think even Fred Flintstone was do better than a 56. Twinkle Toes. Yeah. You know, one of the coolest things that I think I've gained over the last 2.5 years is the community. Um, you know, the knives are awesome. Having a hobby is awesome. Doing my carving is awesome. Um, you know, but the community is freaking amazing. And you see the B up and how the community came together around that over the last year and few months, and it really is freaking impressive to watch everybody come together, even though there's so much division um, out there in the world right now, and everybody in this group just figures out how to you know let all that stuff go every time they get together. And we do our thing, we have a good time, we joke, we hoot, we holler, we give each other hell. And you know but the recent passing of Illuminati's mom, um, in conjunction with BUP. Um, it really didn't hit me when I was in the hospital, that I was that sick or, anything like that. It was just pretty much it happened and they fixed it and I was recovering and it hurt. And, there were some things that I was feeling, but, you know, I don't really think fear was one of them. Even when I went to the hospital initially, I mean, it wasn't that I was scared. It was more that um, I'd been sick long enough that it wasn't going to make itself better at home. So, it's time to go to the doctor. But when Bluminati's mom passed, I don't know why it never dawned on me that he's the same age as my son. And that just, for some reason, created, um, I don't know, man, talk about the feels. Um, it hit me. It hit me pretty hard that, I came really close to putting my son in the same situation. And man, I hadn't really thought about it. But the part that made it easy to stay on track and not have to just focus on my recovery was being able to hang out with you guys um, 7 days a week. I wouldn't say 24/7, but sometimes it's pretty close. But the way everybody came together and rallied around Bluminati, rallied around me, um, rallied around um, anybody who is in need, quite a bit of the time. Um, that's freaking amazing. And every single one of you should be giving yourselves a little pat on the back for whatever your part in it was, or is, or will be. But I think that over the last 3 or 4 months, that BUP kind of has taken a new meaning for me, and I kind of get it. You know, I don't know that I got it before, but I definitely get it now. So um, I know Stevie asked me if I wanted to come on during the BUP broadcast when we were doing the knife giveaway, and I was just emotionally not prepared to deal with that. And then it turns out neither was anybody else, so I would have been just fine. But I should have known that in the first place. So I got a question for everybody. Do a fake pocket check. How's that? What do you wish you were carrying right now? There's a question for you. Everybody left. There's another one of those guys, that Scott N guy, man. I'll tell you what, hero in the background. I was his secret Santa last year, and I got Scott a anvil Nuck made out of acrylic, and just so that there was a knife, I gave him one of these. Just so there was a knife in there. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with these, but these are made by a company called Fox Edge, and it does not say where it was made. The company is based out of Morgan, Utah. But I'll tell you what, I haven't found very many knives that are a bigger piece of crap than this one. I was never able to get that broke in. But I think it came in a fish vault box. One of those boxes. But this thing weighs about 4 pounds. And I'm going to send this off to Scott N so that he has a matching set. See what kind of photography he can do with that. What's up, Papa? How you doing, my brother? Mr. Bud, what's going on? Todd Carr? But I haven't been able to. Hold on a second. What are you clipping that thing on, Stevie? All right. Anything else? So when you guys do your lives, Maddie said Stevie, um, do you use the camera on your computer? Do you use your phone? Do you use extra cameras? Is the picture good on this? This is on my Dell. I was gonna just use my phone, but it said that I didn't have enough. Said that I had to have 50 followers and something else, but I know I've got over 50 followers. But I think it's because I've only been doing shorts, possibly. But we'll see if they. Because the phone would definitely make it easier when I do a live from out in the sharpening shed, for sure. Can you hear me now? So the lights were there's several different lights back here on this piece of art. There were like little lights down here, and then up at the top is neon, and then there are some red lights over here. Where they at? Like right in here. So I think yeah, the combination of them was probably jacking that camera up a little bit. Now you can kind of see who the stickers belong to as well. Chef Rocky. Right on. And it's funny when I did that short last week, and somebody commented about the neighbors. I was trying to show the gnomes by the garden, and I didn't realize that I got just a little up over the fence there, and you're able to see the next door neighbor's house. But um, they're good neighbors, so they don't care, and they know I do knife stuff, so they probably aren't too concerned with me standing in the backyard flipping knives. They were the ones who got me that. It's kind of a really cool situation because we watch their dogs for them when they're out of town and they're younger and they travel quite a bit. Um, and they've got a swimming pool, so it works out pretty doggone good. You know, you use the swimming pool most of the summer, and don't have to do all of the BS that goes along with it. Oh, Papa's on the run. Look out. I cooked short ribs for the first time, and it turned out all right. It was super. I had to cook it a little bit longer than they said, but um, when I was chauffeuring, it was probably one of the last months that I chauffeured. Um, Probably May, April or May. I drove a guy, and he threw me a beer, and he was pretty proud of Portland, Oregon, and it was a Portland IPA, and the recipe called for a beer. Yeah, I don't drink beer. I didn't have beer in the refrigerator or anything, and I was like, "Hey, I know. I've got that beer that guy gave me from Portland," and ended up working out really good. Um, but I think next time I won't plan on just a 2 hour cook because the longer it cooked, the more tender it got. The more tender it got, the more tasty it got. It ended up being a good recipe, but not until the next day. And the recipe that I was following said it would be ready in 2 hours. And at 2 hours, it was kind of a little bit chewy. What's my favorite knife? Um, my favorite knife is the Benchmade 940 that I got from JN in the raffle last year. Um, it's an M4, and then he did a like an oil infusion of some kind on the scales, and it changed the color of them. Hold on a sec. And this knife is like also the reason that I got rid of my what are those little ones called? The little Benchmades. I think it used to be like their most popular model that they had going for a while. But I had a couple that were a little smaller than this, and after I got this, I was like, yeah, that's about as small as I want to go. But that's my favorite modern, and my favorite knife overall. I would say bug out. Yep, I had a bug out that I got from the airport gift shop, and I had a bug out that I bought that had the titanium scales on it, and the one with the titanium scales was a little bit better than the one with the G10, but it was just I could never just it never clicked with me. Um, and I do like the Adamus. I had the mini, the Shot Show exclusive, and that was my donation to the fundraiser for Sarah, the Be Up fundraiser that we did last year, and that was a cool little knife. But after once I had the big one, I just didn't carry the little one that much. Um, I think the one that I just ordered is probably going to be one of my favorites when it comes to traditionals, just because it's a yellow Delrin handle Barlow that is almost identical to the one that I won when I was 10 years old. So I'm kind of excited to add that one to the collection. Um, Probably not on the first live, Maddie, in which we get to like 1,000 followers before we start doing the. That way I can see whether or not it's good enough to get demonetized over. The funny thing that I learned about this is another one of those things. It's funny. I know I'm not the only one who's done this, but you get out there and you start shopping and you start looking for stuff, and you kind of think you know what you're looking for. And I'll tell you, there's probably two different times that I bought a knife and found what I thought I was looking for, and purchased it, and waited, got the knife, and Hen and Rooster was real good at it, and I didn't look at how big the knife was. I don't know why. It was just a rookie mistake, when I was first starting my collecting, and this thing comes in, it was like that big. And you flip it open, and the whole thing is all like that. It's like, well, what are you going to do with that? That's a collector's knife. There's really not a lot you're going to do with it. Um, but I learned a lesson about getting a little bit too excited and not paying attention to the little details. Like I said, I think I did that twice, and I ended up with these little chodes. But it's all good, live and learn. Um, oh, never learned keystring from a yoga instructor. Solid advice. Hello, Mama Rhino. Papa's talking about third date, and Mama shows up. Out of your recent acquisitions, Papa, which one's your favorite? What kind of stuff are you carving, Todd? Hey, budget guy. Todd, that's kind of what got me started carving was um, There was a lady who I found her stuff at one of the farmers markets, and she was doing like spoons, and she was doing like these I don't know, it kind of looked like an ashtray, but apparently it was like to keep salt in. And instead of putting it in a shaker, and there was something to the specific wood and how it kept the salt. But she did some really cool stuff, and she did like a lot of bowls, and then she also did some intricate carvings like intertwined stems on roses, and then she'd carve the roses out. And I just saw some of the stuff that she was doing, and I was like, man, that is pretty cool. And it was funny because about the time I started doing the carving, my guys from the bowling team were like, bro, can't be doing all this knife stuff. You got bowling your fingers, and I've got safety equipment. Thank you very much. So everybody, it's pretty much getting ready. Well, I think the only one who's not getting ready to get cold is probably Cheeto and Maddie, right? Because I know here they were saying next week it's supposed to get down into the teens. So I know y'all up north are fixing to get some seriously cold weather. I think they said we were going to get cold for like 2 nights. It was going to be a hard, hard freeze. It's funny, Stevie, because all of the time that I remember spending up in the Pacific Northwest as a kid, I only remember snow like a handful of times until we got up into the mountainous areas. But in like Bremerton and Silverdale, and even when we lived over in Everett, I mean, I remember some snows, but nothing of any consequence, like dusting, and then it was gone. In fact, I would go so far as to say the time that I spent up there, the snow that we had 2 years ago here in Texas was bigger than the snow. Austin, Texas, Beefer. But my dad was Navy, so we were all over the place. Um, we did mostly West Coast, a lot of Pacific Northwest, and a lot of California. And we did one trip to the East Coast, did Virginia Beach during the bicentennial, 1976. And then 77 and 78, we were in Brunswick, Maine, Bangor, Maine, which is the Brunswick Naval Air Station, which is no longer there. But some of you might recall the blizzard of 1978. And the funniest thing for me as a 12-year-old is I was watching all these places around the Northeast that normally don't shut down, like Buffalo, New York. They weren't even delivering mail. Kids weren't going to school. But up in Maine, man, they just put freaking chains on the freaking bus and you go to school anyway. But I do remember that during that blizzard in 1978, the units that we lived in, there was a fourplex, and there was probably about a 20-foot wide yard or 20-foot deep yard that went the length of all four units. And there was so much snow that we dug an entire tunnel system through all of the yards, and then when everything started to warm up and melt, then the dads went out and smashed everything down, so nobody ended up getting, suffocated or anything. But um, we had to go to school, but we still had a good time. That was a heck of a storm. When we lived there in Maine, one of the dads behind our fourplex, you went up a hill that was maybe 100 feet back, and then there was a fence, government fence, and the dads cut the chain link fence, and back in the woods is where we had our tree house. They built us the first level, and then we built the rest of it up. But there was like 30 miles of wilderness where we were allowed to be 11 and 12 years old and go out and do our own thing. And we did all kinds of stuff. Never ran across much in the way of wildlife that was hazardous to our well-being, other than maybe a porcupine or two. But there was rock quarries out there and caves, and I mean, I think one of the dads brought us out there. We learned to shoot. They taught us how to go down into the quarry and swim and check how deep it is and make sure that it was good enough in the area that we wanted to jump into from the rocks, and taught us how to do that safely and go down and dive down and check how where the bottom was at, if we could even get there in some places. But we had a blast. I mean, no phones, no cell phones, no none of that. I mean, it was just crazy, crazy fun. And one of the cool things that I got to do when I was like 35, I went back and wanted to see whether or not it was just something that I had in my mind because I was 11 and 12 years old and how great it was and everything. But it was awesome. I mean, we went back and I spent like a week in Maine, and very, very cool. Like to vacation up in the north, especially during the summertime. Did a lot of vacationing up in Canada, Lake of the Woods, Upper French River, north of Toronto. Did a lot of fishing up there too. But we did the Lake of the Woods trip for 5 or 6 years, and rented a houseboat and then went out for a week. Usually 6 to 8 of us. Most of the time, it was about half fishermen and half hunters. Pretty cool. Well, I think one of the greatest memories up that way was, and somebody has spotted one here in Austin recently, but they're up in Lake of the Woods. The freaking bald eagles are so plentiful, and there's so many of them. And I just sit up on the top deck of the boat and just watch these guys fish. And it was that was one of the coolest things I think I've experienced in my life, was just watching those guys fish and then seeing some of their nesting grounds and stuff like that. The fishing's awesome. Did some muskie hunting up there and caught some pike. And one of our groups went up, and after they lifted, there was a ban for a while. But after they lifted the ban, one of our groups went up and took a bear. And I don't know, kind of like venison to me. It's a little gamey, very greasy, very greasy. Ice on your windshield in Phoenix? Oh my. So hell hasn't froze over, but it's getting chilly, huh, Maddie? Fly Guy, the worst ice storm that I was ever in. I was going up 57 through Arkansas, and everybody started sliding off the road in the middle of the night. And then the cops shut down the road, and they directed us off into a rest area. And probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I just heard a crash, smash. I mean, it was loud. It was crazy. And I'd never heard anything, like that. And in the morning, we woke up, and probably about 250 yards from The rest area we were parked at was a lone house, and it was set back off of the highway, a couple hundred yards. But there was one big giant tree out in the yard of this house, and the ice had accumulated on all the branches. And I guess a branch from the top broke and then came down, and it brought every other branch from that entire tree down. And I went back and forth between Texas and Chicago 3 or 4 times over the next couple of months. And I mean, there were electricians working to restore the power for the entire time I was going back and forth. I mean, every time that I'd stop and grab a hotel room, there would be 20, 30, 40 trucks parked out front where they were out there trying to fix everything up. Choo choo. My good luck charm. It's one of the things that I want to learn to whittle this year after I get done with Maddie's super spiky plug. Papa, your property's in Missouri, though, right? So, Maddie, those Christmas cards, my mom starts making those Christmas cards in like July every year. And she has a craft room. And half of the year she uses it to do giant puzzles. And then the other half of the year she uses it to do her cards. And in between she does some embroidery stuff. But I was watching Nelly, Big Red's wife, start up her IG, and she's kind of going down the same path. But I was asking my mom about all of her crafting supplies and stuff, and I'm telling you, it makes me feel much better about my knife collecting habit because, man, you want to talk about some money in some large quantities. I mean, the stamping stuff, the cutting stuff, I mean, she's got cry cut machines, and I mean everything you could freaking imagine related to doing crafting and scrapbooking, and I mean, she's 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 definitely addicted. She's hooked. She's got a problem, but she does good work. And she asked me. We were talking about whether or not that's the kind of thing that you could put on like Etsy or something like that. But I'll tell you what, man, the amount of work you put into those, I know people would pay, but so I'm sure some of y'all have figured this out. This is the first year that we've actually run into problems, and I've heard some other people having trouble with some mail. But several folks in my personal life have had issues with gift cards this year. Gift cards were mailed, and then obviously they're easy to feel through the envelope. Unlike cash used to be, you couldn't tell, so people would just, but apparently it's become quite a racket with people swiping the gift cards. And my a couple of my my brother and my foster brother, they both sent gift cards this year, and neither one of them arrived. And then Stevie sent me some stickers. And it's really funny because the way that envelope with those stickers arrived was like somebody folded it up and stuck it in their pocket and then realized it wasn't what they thought it was, and then they put it back. But the stickers did arrive. It just took them about 17 days to do so. So I don't know how long they rode around in somebody's pocket. Some people never got the poker chips. Well, the price of gold and the price of silver is so far in the atmosphere right now that anything that feels like it could be something of value. All right, here's a question. I'm not going to do a giveaway, but all right, first one in the chat who says they don't have one. I ended up with a second one. If you don't have one of these, let me know. First one in the chat. There you go. Satisfaction's first. I got one when I got my 2 years, but when I DSKFS'd something that I won from Big Red's channel after he got back from Blade Show Texas last year. And when he first got those, he sent me one. So I already had one. And then he sent me one when I hit my 24 months. It's kind of funny because I got 24 months in. I haven't followed anybody except for Big Red and Satisfaction since Jason Brown. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Jason Brown, he said that he made a rule that he was only going to subscribe to 2 channels, and he was already subscribed to 2 channels, more, and I was probably subscribed to like 10 channels at the time, and I started realizing $50 a month, that's a knife, or a quarter of a knife, or a tenth of a knife, depending on what knife it is. But it wasn't a hard decision to make after that, just because where are you having fun? And definitely with Satisfaction and Said Stevie is where we were having fun. I get a little crazy. I know that you guys think I'm a little bit out there with the glory hole thing, but I'm the safety supervisor for the Southwest region, and making sure there's no sharp edges on those glory holes and everything sanitary. Rough job, but somebody's got to do it. Cut down on memberships. I was at $150 a month. Yeah, buddy. It's not that hard to. It's not that hard to do. All right, so we're right around the hour and a half mark. I don't know that I'm going to set a time on when we're going to go to on a regular basis until I kind of start figuring this out, and I'll drop some more shorts over the next week, and then plan on doing this again next Tuesday late live. Well, Satisfaction will let you know what your rights are, budget guy. I'm not wearing any shorts, Stevie. Oh, you're down there in the sticks big time, aren't you, Winnie? You know, I'll tell you another. When we talk about the community, um, I don't even think I was. In fact, I know I wasn't. I was only scheduled for surgery. I was in ICU, and I went into the hospital on the 29th of June, and then they scheduled my surgery for July 3rd. And I think it was the 30th of June, and I'd let Maddie and a couple of the guys know what was going on and everything. And Winchester was like, "Hey, is it okay if I come visit?" And I was just blown away. I mean, it was just kind of one of those where it's like, they're actually a real person. It's not just a name on a computer typing stuff in all the time. And it did, man. I mean, I was going through a patch at that moment, and they didn't let anybody but family, and my mom wasn't leaving. So um, you'd have had to fight her anyway, Winnie. But dude, that was so cool. So we're definitely gonna have to meet up and break some bread, and then New Breed Luke. He lives down in San Antonio. He's not far from here either. So start meeting up with some of these guys. I was thinking about doing Blade Show Texas this year, but instead I ended up booking a resort up by this is a Texas thing. Up by Tyler, Texas, there's a big lake called Lake Livingston, and they do a pro bass stop there every year. But hopefully it's not super cold, but I'll be up there for a week, and hopefully I can get out with a guide for a couple of days and do some crappie fishing. Um, and then one of the cool things, I'll be able to continue doing my classes online while I'm on vacation. So Lake Livingstone, I presume that's correct, sir. Livingston. Um, and I haven't done a whole lot of fishing since early part of the summer. So I'm going to get back to that too. I don't know if that's something we'll go live on. I'll leave that to Mr. Catfish. Um, I like to do a lot of early morning fishing and a lot of late night fishing. You can see Sean doing his fishing videos, and he's out at night a lot. I was on the seventh floor, Winnie. That would have been quite a trick. uh, well, so far, all of my connections have been a miss. Um, he was in here a minute ago. Brant unexpectedly ended up in Austin one weekend. He was helping somebody move in at UT, family or something. I don't recall, but I was working. I had a client, and he hit me up on the text. He was like, "Hey, I'm in Austin. Where you at? Come up and see me." And it didn't work out. Didn't make the connection. And then Javon was here on business, and I had no clue. He apparently was in town on business for like 4 or 5 days, and I think we were in the early stages of. I was in the early stages of like watching his lives and his YouTube channel, and but that was another missed opportunity. So it's like, okay, well, eventually one of these days I'm going to be able to meet up with some of the folks that we're seeing out here. I'd like to come up and do some outdoorsing with Mr. Papa Rhino too. Yeah, we talking fishing. We talking fishing up in here. Hell yeah. Somebody did a tag. what was his Jesse McJames. He did a tag asking about other hobbies, and I'm gonna pull out some fishing boxes and fishing poles and stuff like that, and do a little video showing because it kind of is the way I ended up in the knife community in the first place, was looking for a knife for fishing. So all comes back around full circle. But I think it'll be pretty obvious that I have an addictive personality when you see how much fishing stuff I got. Indeed, yes. Last time we went up and stayed at the same spot, it was the end of the summer, and we had a big old catfish fry. And then we got onto some carp, some big carp, and you can't eat them. I don't eat them. I know some people eat them. I would never eat them. But man, you want to talk about some fighting? He had a couple over 30 pounds. Papa found bees first. Stevie wants to paint Winchester on a sinking ship. Drink check. Iced coffee in the Yeti. Which, in case you don't know, is headquartered here in Austin, Texas. I got an old laptop. I'd have to take all the old porn off of it, but finger paint. There's some monsters that came out of Lake Fort this year. I think there was like a stretch of like a month where there was like 4 or 5 12-pounders that came out of that lake. They're growing some hogs up there. Trinity River. It doesn't look like a good river to eat fish out of. I think that Trinity, there's some guys getting some. That's where that guy pulled that big old alligator gar out of that was like world record size. ZZ Top sing a song about that necklace, Winchester? My laugh shook the camera. Well, that's because everything's big in Texas, Maddie. Greased up pig rat. Little blade playing the delicate. I think I just need to tighten the pivot up a little bit. Get that new thumb stud on there, and it'll be perfect. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all spending your Tuesday night with me. See you guys next week.